What's up, gang? Welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius and I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now listen, the Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. Guys, welcome to today's episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius and and boy, do we have a special guest. Bo Eason is in the house. What's up, Bo?
Darius, how are you, man?
I am so much better now that we are on the show together. Doing awesome, man. So pumped to have you here. How's your day today? You doing good?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. Yeah, kids are, back in school after those crazy fires, and so all's good.
Are you in LA or New York? I thought you were in LA or New York for some reason.
No, we've lived in New York at times. We're actually both from California, Dawn and I, and she grew up in this town, Westlake Village, Agora Hills, just north of LA, kind of in between Santa Barbara and LA.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah. I went to UC Santa Barbara, so
you did. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that was my second school. I went to UC Davis. I don't know if you remember. We talked about Davis a little bit when I met you.
That's right. And
yeah.
do you know, Darius? I don't know if we talked about this. My son's going there.
No, I didn't know your son was going to Davis.
So my son just got a scholarship there to Davis to be their quarterback.
Oh, no way. He's playing football there. Huh.
Yeah. So he's going there. He's still in high school now. He'll go there. He'll be their quarterback this fall.
That's amazing. And so they were D2 when I was there, maybe D1 AA now or one of those?
Me too. No, they were Division II when I was there. Now they're big time. Now they're Division I and, play big time schools, and they've grown a lot since you and me were there.
Yeah. So when I went to Davis, and we'll I'm not going to belabor my story too long, but there was two D1 sports, wrestling and gymnastics. And I was a wrestler, so I wrestled for UC Davis.
Did you really?
Yeah. I was a D1 wrestler for 1 year, and then I played rugby. And then my parents were like, "You need to work, buddy." So then I just worked my ass off. So man, I want to get into your story because, guys. So I met Bo. First of all, I met Bo before I met Bo, and Bo doesn't know that. And so I've been in GOT now for 8 years. Gathering of Titans, audience knows all about it because a lot of our guests and a lot of my friends are from that, and it was interesting, man, because I'm pretty embedded in the EO world. I was in EO for a long time. I had a really big company, so when you have a big company, like either you're really involved, or you're just like someone that's like hanging out in your forum, and I was the guy hanging out in my forum because I was busy running my company, and I just kept hearing Bo's name. They're like, "Oh, Bo's like the best. This guy's the best speaker." Oh. And so then I get into GOT, and they're like, "Oh, were you here that?" This is what Yoper says. "Wait, were you here that your Bo spoke? Oh man, he killed it." And Mike Cato, I think you might know, is like, "Oh, have you seen Bo?" And so your name came up like, I don't know, like 2-3 dozen times over like a 5 to 10 year period, and I'm like, "No, I haven't seen Bo." But it sounds like I should. And so and when I started the podcast, people were like, "Oh, you got a Bo on the show, man." And so anyway, you don't know that. I never told you that. But and so finally you came to GOT, and I saw you, and I'm like, well, it all makes sense now. Because you're pretty incredible, dude. So yeah, it was very cool.
That wasn't a letdown for you.
No, what's funny is like, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like that too. You have a big personality. The audience will learn that in a second, but I think some people just have such a big personality and are just so like engaging that when you meet them, they're like people's hopes are up, and then they're like, "Oh, I get it." You're one of those people, man. You know that. I think I'm like that. So anyhow, we met at GOT. You blew my mind. And then we were talking before the show. We tried to get Bo on the show, and one thing led to another, and it didn't happen. And then his team reached out, and I'm like, "Oh hell yeah!" Like I've been wanting to get Bo on the show since we started the show. So guys, for audience members who have been living under a rock, Bo has such an incredible story. I'm going to give you a quick bio, and then we'll get into your origin story, which is such an amazing story. So, guys, Bo was a top pick for the Houston Oilers. We were talking a moment ago. He played football at UC Davis, which is a part of his story. He spent 5 years in the NFL. Wrote and starred in the critically acclaimed one-man play that was on Broadway called Runt of the Litter. It was also off Broadway, but on Broadway, which is awesome. He now trains top athletes, entrepreneurs, and executives in impactful communication. He's a best-selling author of No Plan B for Your A Game. But man, I just would love, here at the Greatness Machine, we love origin stories. And I'm going to say this because the audience knows that I feel this way, that there's just certain people in the world that just get after it. They go and they do what you're like the things that you've done, NFL, Broadway, working with some of the top people in the world. Like you're not supposed to do those things. And one of the reasons I started the show was because I was like, the world is full of no's, full of you can't do that, full of like you suck. Oh no, that's not for you. And then there's just certain people on this earth. I consider myself one of them. That's just like, yeah, fuck you. Like if one man can do it, I can do it. And so I just feel like you have, maybe I'm not using those words, but I feel like you definitely have that, like, you're just going to get after it just to know that you can do it. But I'd love if you give your origin story to our audience, man. You're such a cool story.
It actually is. When I was a kid, I wanted to be the best safety in the world. That's a position in football, right? So when I was 9, I drew up this plan. I drew up this 20-year plan. I still have it. It's from 1969. So that piece of paper is getting old. It's my little like Declaration of Independence. And all it is a picture of me playing this in a football uniform. And the dream was, and the declaration was that I was going to be the best safety in the whole world. And I didn't even really know even what that meant. I didn't even really, I saw a safety play in a football game at that age. And that's why I said, wow, I like that position. I like what it does. It's a position that stops the great players. It stops the most beautiful players, the ones that run the fastest, the ones that are the most offensive, the ones that are so elegant, score all the touchdowns. The safety is the last line of defense on the defense. So if you get past the safety, you score. If you score, you win. If you can't get past the safety, you can't win. So I go, that's my dream. I want to do that. And I know that must sound crazy, but because no one ever dreamt of doing that, I don't think, but I did. And so from 9 years old, I just started to rehearse and behave like what I thought the best safety would behave. I was just almost like writing a play, almost like writing a character in a play and then being that character in the play and bringing it to life physically. So anyway, the years went by and, I wasn't very good. I wasn't very big. I wasn't very fast. So, I was never really getting a lot of evidence that this dream was actually ever going to work out. Went to high school, played with my brother. My brother was like the greatest athlete I've ever seen, even to this day. And we played, we were really good. We had a really good team in a little farm community. And neither of us was recruited to go play in college. So my brother went to a junior college. And then the following year, I'm a year younger, I went to UC Davis. And UC Davis at that time was Division II and no scholarships. So there's no, everybody who plays football at UC Davis at that time just walked over to UC Davis and said, hey, I'm on the football team. And they go, here's a uniform, and then you were on the football team. So I went there and they didn't even want me. They were like laughing at me. They're like, who's this freshman? He's so little and he's not particularly fast. So he's probably not going to be a very good safety. And I became, I don't know, kind of a this kid that really just tried hard to be on this team and really wasn't on the team and kept sneaking back into the locker room and kept sneaking back onto the field. And these equipment managers at UC Davis kind of took a liking to me because they thought it was cute. They thought it was kind of funny that I had this big dream of being the best safety in the world, yet I'm at a Division II school with no scholarships and no one really is, saying, come on, we really need you, buddy. So anyway, I played there at UC Davis. I grew as I got there and got really fast because I figured out what made the best safety in the world was speed and smarts and the ability to hurt people and hit people. And so I learned those traits and I did it. I followed this dream and became, the top safety, drafted, uh, uh, in 1984. And so it all came true. But what's so funny about it is all those years from 1969 when I drew up the plan to 1984 when I got drafted. I mean, it was weird because usually when you're on a dream that takes that long to achieve, you get indications over your lifetime, over those years, that there's evidence that you actually got the ability to do this. But to me, it just never, I felt like I never had evidence that the dream was going to come true, yet I knew somehow, some way that it was going to happen.
Well, and then, can I ask a question on that? Because I think that, like, what like some people call that intuition, some people call that delusion, maybe a combination of both. Like, what was it for you? Because obviously it happened against the odds.
Yeah.
I mean, what like I mean, I'm accused of being a manifester by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm accused, and I have a position in life for the most part. There's exemptions to what I'm about to say, or exceptions to what I'm about to say, which is, like I said it before, if one person can do it, I can do it. Now, can I go be in the NBA? I'm pretty sure I can't be in the NBA. And there's certain things where, like, physiologically, it's just probably unlikely, right? I'm probably not going to be a gold medalist gymnast. But, like, outside of stuff where I'm like, from a physiological standpoint, it's probably impossible, or maybe become like a rocket scientist or an astronaut. Maybe I could become an astronaut, but I'm usually like, most things I think if somebody can do it, I can do it. I mean, like, what was it, again, going back to this delusion versus intuition, what was it for you?
Yeah, I could see, like, I would watch the game, I would watch safeties, and I would say they were usually better than me because they were older, they were bigger, they were better than me. And I would look at them and I go, I somehow knew that over time, if I could just outwork them and out behave them, meaning, in my small little brain back then, I just remember this going like this. Okay, so there was this girl in high school that wanted me to take her to the prom. And I remember thinking, Darius, I know this may sound crazy to you, but I remember thinking, if I don't go to the prom and all the other safeties that are going to be drafted in 1984 go to the prom, that will give me the advantage because I will train and they will be trying to make out with a girl at the prom. And somehow, and so that same thing, I would just do that over and over with my life, like parties. Like, I remember drinking beer, like my buddies go, look, we're going to drink beer. We're in high school, we're in college. And I just remember going, oh, I'm not going to, which means I'm going to be the best safety in the world. I always equated my sacrifices to that proves it's going to happen. I'm going to use all my time to stay loyal and stay focused on being the best safety rather than the prom, rather than beer, rather than a fraternity, rather than all these other things. And somehow I just thought it was going to happen. And another thing too, my mom and dad thought it was going to happen. And my brother, who's a year older than me and a great athlete, and he knew it was going to happen. And they spoke to me as if it was happening. Now, the rest of the world didn't.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. They spoke to me like you're crazy. You should probably go to the prom. Because you're going to sacrifice your whole life and this dream's never going to work out. But my mom and dad, it's not like they encouraged me every day. It's just the way they treated me. It's the way they looked at me. It's the way they took me serious. They took me seriously when I told them what I wanted.
Mm.
And they were like, yeah, that sounds right. Instead of, are you crazy, son? Pick something easier. So as it go, and my brother and I, we grew up on a ranch, on a farm, so that we didn't, our neighbors were miles away. We grew up with 4 older sisters. So he and I are the 2 youngest and the only boys. So, we got a football for Christmas one year. And so we go, well, this fills a lot of time. You throw it, I'll catch it. And that's all we did. And look, think about it. There was no phones back then. Our TV set got like 3 stations.
You're right.
And there was nothing on. Right. So we grew up with horses and cattle. So we were always outside and we were always in pastures, and we always brought a ball, and he would throw it and I would catch it. And after all those years of that, thousands and thousands and thousands of balls. And then when we graduated from high school, like I said, we didn't have scholarships. So no one was interested. Right. But when it came time for that dream to come true, like 1983 for my brother, 1984 for me, my brother was a first-round pick, quarterback to the New England Patriots. He took the Patriots to their first Super Bowl. On the next year, I was a second-round pick, top safety chosen for the Houston Oilers. And it's weird because when they announced that, like in 83 and 84, when they say, he's the best at his position. ESPN says that, right? But me and my brother, we already knew that. It's weird. Even though no one had ever said it, we knew it just between ourselves. And we were I think the good part about it was, Darius, we were kind of isolated from the world in a lot of ways. We couldn't really compare ourselves to other players because, there was no Instagram. There was no way for us to see other players. We just, deep down inside, we knew we had dreams of being the best. And the outside world was just happening. And we were just achieving that goal in the dark, with no one really noticing. But then when it came time for the decision making of these NFL teams, when it came time for them to decide who can help us win, they have got to go to the person who's run the most miles. They've got to go to the person who has thrown the most ball or caught the most balls, the ones who have done a bunch of work and mastery when no one else saw it. And when you go to the combine, when you go to the NFL combine, that is very apparent. Who has done the work for all these years and who has not. And it's an easy choice for them. That's why, people go, well, I got a first round pick. I don't want to blow it. It's rare that you would blow it because it's very apparent. It just shows up. That person can help our franchise win games. We trust this person with winning in their hands, and our community and our organization and our team trusts that. And all that trust comes from, what they don't care about? How good you were in high school. You know what else they don't care about?
Right.
They don't care about who recruited you. They don't care about if anyone liked you. They didn't care about any of that shit. They want to see that what is the end result? What has this human being put together? And I think because we were isolated, me and my brother were able to support each other, keep each other on track, and then reach that pinnacle, that dream, that ultimate dream. But Darius, something real, I think your audience will enjoy this part because I didn't really realize this till many years had passed after we played. So I went to a high school called Delta High School. And at Delta High School, there's never been a pro athlete before I got there, and there's never been one since I left. Right. So over 100 years, there's not one pro athlete from that little tiny high school. It's a little farm community high school in the Sacramento area. Well, the team that I played on had 4 players go to the NFL.
Wow.
From one team. 4 out of 27 farm boys on this team, 4 of them went all the way to the NFL for a total of 25 years and 2 Super Bowls. Wow. So I always say that only to give your audience an indication of, like, when someone's loyal to a dream or a vision that's kind of kept to themselves and they're just operating on their own and they're just doing their work, the people around that person actually go with them.
Wow.
Because if you think about it, what are the odds of that happening? For one, if you're a high school football player, the odds of you being drafted into the NFL is 0.03%.
Wow.
So that's the odds. 0.03% high school players make it in the NFL. Well, then out of my 27 farm boys on my team, and given the history of the school, 100 years of not one pro athlete, having 4 out of 27 on a team, what are the odds of that?
That's crazy.
And yeah, so looking back, I always think of people like, well, there was something in the water, or God just pointed his finger down at Delta High School during that year and said, there's just talent there. Well, I think it goes more back to this origin story, which you and I started off with, which was there was a kid who was 9 who drew up a plan. He had a vision to be the best safety in the world, drew up the plan, carried the plan all those years, and other people who are around the kid and the plan are saying to themselves, well, if this kid's playing pro football, I certainly am too. And it just gives you permission to actually follow a dream and get caught up in kind of a mini tidal wave, if you will. And that's why I always encourage my kids, everybody's kids, to no, if you have a vision, if you have a dream, you are obligated. It is your birthright to make that thing come true, because you won't understand it until you do it and look around you, and then everyone else followed you. And everyone else did that because you did that. They did that because they were inspired by somebody else who did it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
so did your brother have the same dream too, or was it that you had the dream first and he was like, well, shit, if Bo's going to do it, I'm going to do it. Like, how did that come to be?
Funny enough, like I told you guys, he's like this amazing athlete, and I always saw him as much bigger than me. I mean, he's bigger than me, and he's just an amazing athlete. I always looked up to him. Football was not his first love. Isn't that funny? Like he loved basketball, right? And he was a great baseball player. He was fast. He could run track. He was just a tremendous athlete, but football wasn't necessarily number one on his list. But I think he's the kind of guy who would do this. I think this is what happened. He saw me because I have a lot of passion, and I've got a lot of, and he's got a lot of power, a lot of just very stoic, very quiet, very handled, very confident in his own skin, where I was the opposite. I was like, oh, I got to achieve. I got to prove myself. I got to do something. And,
little brother, man, little brother.
Yeah, that's right. And I think I asked him to throw me 1,000 balls a day, right? So that if I'm going to be the best safety in the world, I have to catch 1,000 balls a day, right? So guess who I got to throw me those 1,000 balls a day? My brother. And
Nice.
he got good at it. After you throw 1,000 balls a day for like 20
Right.
years, you get pretty damn good.
That's
And,
crazy.
and he just kind of went with it. But after, like, he was a first round pick. This dude was drafted in the greatest 1983, the greatest quarterback draft ever. John Elway, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Kenny O'Brien, who was my roommate at UC Davis, Todd Blackledge, and my brother. Well, those are the 6 greatest class of quarterbacks there's ever been. They've been in the most Super Bowls of any class of quarterbacks. And so for him to take that on as a dream kind of late in his life, where I was early and he was helping me fulfill my dream. And I think because he was helping me, he just got really mastered this thing called throwing the football.
Wow, that's
Being a
crazy.
quarterback. And that's how it worked. And it's a really cool story how it works out. But I played for 5 years, and as soon as it was over, Darius, the only success I'd ever had in my life is having a dream and then drawing up a plan and then following it for many years until it came true. So that's what I did. Again, I just repeated what I did in football, but this time I did it in stage performance and playwriting.
Can I ask a question on that specifically, though? Because, like, being someone, and I'm actually someone that loved theater and was an athlete, so I get it. Like I appreciate that that's what you ended up doing. I think that's an unusual thing for someone to like shift into, right? I mean, there's some, Joe Namath did it, so there's other examples, right? But it's not that normal. I guess now you got like The Rock did it, and you got some John Cena and stuff like that. But yeah, like I was gonna say, like, you obviously realized that you could create an audacious plan that had a high likelihood of failure, believe in it, and then despite naysayers, and I actually think this happening in the 60s and 70s was the perfect time, because right now you would have been watching other kids who were better than you. You would have been hearing from everyone that you're out of your mind constantly. You wouldn't have been able to put your blinders on, right? Like that's something that my kids don't get the benefit of, right?
That's right.
So that's such a gift, and to have your parents believe in you, because I grew up in a family with parents that were not that supportive, that did not would tell me I couldn't do stuff, right? And I think, and I was the one that was like, oh yeah, F you, I'm going to do it, right? So I just had that inner grind to not care what people said. That would actually, I used to tell people, if you want me to do something, tell me I can't do something.
Yeah.
Like that's the perfect way to get me to do it, right?
Yep.
Like just tell me I can't, and that my interest in doing it triples.
Yeah.
So that comes from within, and that's a gift from God, right? But like, were you like, I really like being in front of people and doing stuff, like maybe I'll do it on stage? I mean, how do you pivot from NFL to like to the theater? Like that's just such a crazy pivot.
Everyone always says that. In fact, the New York Times, I remember when the play was about to open in New York, and the New York Times came to one of the rehearsals to write a story about, a football player writing this play. And so they came, and the writer wrote down, he was taking his notes as I was answering the questions. And he goes, gosh, I just wrote a sentence down that I've never written down before, and I don't think I'll ever write it again. And it says this: NFL player turned playwright. And he goes, I don't think that's ever happened. And I think, I loved theater growing up. I never did it, but I liked it. I liked it from afar, because I was, my high school years were in a locker room, and I wasn't about to tell my teammates that, hey, you guys want to go to the high school play tonight?
Yeah, right.
Well, I never said that, but I would go and I would watch. I was never in it, but I liked it. And I was like, dang, that's pretty cool. So cut to years later, we're playing in Miami, playing the Dolphins, Dan Marino. It was in the Orange Bowl. It was hot. I'd had 6 knee surgeries up to that point. I blew my knee on this play in the Orange Bowl for the 7th time, and it was loud. I mean, it snapped loud. And I was being wheeled off of the field. I knew it was bad. I knew this was probably going to be my 7th surgery, which is not good, right? Whenever there's a surgery, there's going to be another one. There's going to be another one. There's going to be another one, because every guy in the NFL knows who's having a surgery, and that puts a target on you, right? So it's like survival of the fittest in the jungle.
Sure.
Yeah, you see a little antelope limping, and all the cheetahs are like, oh yeah,
it's dinner time.
So I remember being wheeled off. I was being wheeled off of the field in the Orange Bowl. And just by the sound that I heard from my leg, I said, I was thinking to myself on this gurney that this is probably over. And I've trained myself for 20 years to be the best in the world at this one thing. And this one thing is the only thing that I'm good at. And that one thing I'm good at is hurting other people, like intimidating and hurting other men. Because in the 80s, that's what safeties did. Remember? I mean, you could knock people's teeth out, right? And they would go like this. Oh, that's so nice. That's great. Go get them. It's different today, right? The rules are completely different. But that's how that position used to be. So as I was being wheeled off, I thought, what I have trained myself, what I've been trained to be for the last 20 years, is the most dangerous person on the planet. And if I have to go back to the civilian world, I'm probably not going to fit in well, given what I'm great at.
No, you could have been a hitman.
Right?
They broke some bones, collect some money.
That's exactly what crossed my mind. I said, "Oh, so my next occupation is I'm probably going to end up in prison. Like, I'm going to have a jumpsuit and orange, because what I do best is kind of hurt. It's illegal." So in the very next moment, Darius, just out of survival, as an instinct, and I'm still on this gurney getting wheeled off the field, I created my whole future like this fast. I'm moving to New York City. I'm moving to New York City. That's what I thought. And I never lived in New York up to that point. I'd been there to play games, but I'd never lived in New York. But I knew that they did theater in New York. I knew that there were shows on in New York. And I go, if this instrument that I have, this body that I have, can be trained to express itself in certain ways on a field that made me the best at that, then it certainly could do it on a stage.
Nice.
And maybe I can make a living, and maybe I can skip jail all at the same time. And I swear, I had the surgery. So crazy. I had the surgery. I went through rehab. I think I played one more year in the NFL and moved to New York City. And I just moved there. I had no background in this. I talked to friends. I talked to people in this world who I had met while I was a football player. Al Pacino was one of them. And he told me who to work with. He said, you got to study with this guy. You got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do theater. And I did everything he said. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was going for it, just like I was as to become the best safety. And basically I ran kind of the same miles that I ran to play football, but it was just in different form, right? It was in voice, and it was in writing, and it was in acting class and improv class. And that's what I did. And eventually I wrote my own show. And then I made sure that I could play the part that I wrote because I own the property, right? So I'm the only guy in it, right? Like, I controlled the situation where there was a bunch of movies that I thought I could act in, right? But I didn't own the property, so I couldn't hire myself. So I wrote my own. Pacino told me to do that. I did that. He came to the play. Everybody came to the play. And the New York Times named it one of the most powerful plays of the last decade. So from then, I, everyone started offering me jobs in occupations that I didn't know anything about. Right? So I always thought that, like, once you master one thing, then you master all things. So I mastered this position called safety. And then that gave me the ability to master this position called writer performer and own my own property, control it. I can do it whenever I want to do it. And I get paid to do it. And no one else gets to play it. I get to say who plays it. And that led to just the world kind of opening up for me. And I often tell my kids, because they'll go, Dad, what if I master volleyball? Like my daughter will say. And I master this thing. Like I'm the best in the world at this position in volleyball. And I go, yeah, that's what I want you to do. And they go, well, yeah, but what if that never works out? And I go, it always works out. And they go, no, what if I spend all this time? I waste all that 20 years. I go, no, because mastery equals mastery. So if you master this little position called volleyball, guess what else you master? Marriage, being a wife, being a parent, being a writer, being a performer. You master all else. Master one thing, master all else. And that's what I've always believed. And that's what I've kind of proven over my life is like, I think that's why I chose playwriting after the NFL, because I probably said, well, what the hell is the complete opposite of playing safety in the NFL? And I go, playwright. That's the most opposite thing ever. Right? Just amazing. To kind of prove to myself that if you can master one thing, you can master other things.
So is it so like what I wrote down right now is like mastering mastery, right? And that's what I heard you say, which is this idea that there's a process to mastery, right?
Yeah.
Talent's part of it, right? I'm assuming you have to have some kind of talent for each of these things. But what I'm hearing you say is that interest, passion, and work with a little bit of talent and probably a room-sized version of the word work. Like is it like if you were to like break those down, if I say, hey, Bo, break down mastery into like the components and tell me how much of it is work.
Yeah. Mastery, the reps for sure. Because that's what gives you the, when you have enough reps under your belt of a certain thing that you've done, you've done it more than any other human being could have done it, then that gives you it gives you a confidence like, hey, I've done this more than anyone else. I'm probably pretty damn good at it, and it gives you this confidence to step in there and actually do it. Another thing too, though, Darius, I think I'm just like kind of naive in certain ways. There's a certain, I'm almost 64, so I'm getting a little more intelligence as I age, but I kind of had this naivete about things. Like if I see somebody do something, even though they're better than me, even though it's years in the future, they're much more accomplished than me, I think I can do it. I have this sense like I can do that. Now it might take me 8 years, it might take me 14, doesn't matter. I'm just going to run the miles that it takes until I'm able to do that, and then maybe beyond that. And that's kind of been my experience. And that's, Al Pacino, I don't talk about him much just because he's a quiet guy. I've only been around him once really for an extended period of time that he helped me. And basically what he told me after my football career was over and I was entering the theater, he just basically broke down my next 15 years. He broke down 15 years into my future. And he basically said the same thing that I thought when I was a kid trying to be a safety, which was, Bo, if you put your ass on a stage more than any other human being can put their ass on a stage and saying the lines, and not only the lines, but you have to you have to be able to articulate the classics, Shakespeare. You have to be able to embody what he wrote, his mastery. And I said, well, Al, that's how I operate anyway. I can do that. I'll do that. And I'm sure he didn't believe me when I said it. But then 15 years later, he was sitting in the fifth row right there on the aisle of my show. 15 years after I met him, he was right there. And I wanted what he had, which was he was the greatest stage performer of his time. And I just wanted that. And I said, I thought to myself, if he could do it and he's telling me how to take the mantle from him, I could definitely do it. Anyway, I think in today's world, Darius, the only, hiccup there is people want to move so fast.
Yeah.
They want to move.
Impatience.
So yeah, they don't want to move through the ups and downs that it takes for mastery to kick in.
What advice? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, what I was going to say is, like, a lot of our listeners might have kids.
Yeah.
What advice maybe have you given your kids around having a perspective around around patience for mastery or patience for achievement?
Yeah, well, we talk about it all the time. Not so much now. I have a daughter 20, a son 18, and my youngest daughter's 15. So they're been trained from the day they were born that, this gratification isn't for today. It's for years into the future. So we're going to do things today that pay off way down the line. I don't want you worrying about today. Today, you're going to cry because it's going to be a struggle, and then you're going to get a black eye, and then you're going to skin your knee, and we're just going to keep standing up. And so they have this, my kids have this sense at this point, and trust me, it was not easy. It's not easy to watch your kid cry, fail, get their ass kicked by, some superstar or whatever. And then them want to quit. And then you go, okay, you can quit for an hour and then we're going to get back to work.
Yeah.
And then, and then they cry on the sofa for an hour and then they're back up ready to re-engage. I'm not saying it's the easiest way to parent, but man, the one thing about my kids, they are solid and they do not have an easy time.
Yeah.
Sometimes people see my wife's or my success and they go, oh, your kids have had it easy. And what you don't see is the surgeries. What you don't see is the injuries. What you don't see, because we don't promote those, right? We don't talk about that. Those are all being handled inside of what it takes to master something. All these bloody noses. I mean, we forgot to post that on Instagram. We didn't do it. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when the kids get to be teenagers, and then all of a sudden, those kids that they thought were better than them, they're now catching them. They're now passing them only because the kids who have had an easier time, like the golden child or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Whenever they've had an easy time, there's a stop date for them. But the ones who have delayed gratification, there's no stop date. Those are the people who go all the way.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. My son, my youngest son, is like obsessed with violin, and he was like obsessed, and he's not the best, but he really cares about. He's like got the same thing I have, which is like he wants to be good, right? And so
yeah,
he had a performance. You're going to appreciate this, and he messed up, and I saw him sit down, and he's like pretty like starts like holding back the tears, right? But he worked his ass off and it didn't work out. And so then we go outside and he just starts bawling, and I pull him aside and I was like, hey, listen, man, I'm not happy that you didn't get what you wanted, but I'm going to tell you something that you need to just take with you and understand that life's not fair, and sometimes you just have to work harder. And so this is just an opportunity for you to work harder. And then I told him some stories about me, and like we didn't get into my wrestling, but I was like the worst wrestler on my team, and then I ended up D1, and I was like, I said I just had to outwork everybody. I just had to. When you were talking about not going to parties, I did the same thing where I was like, Friday night, I was lifting. And with the exact same intention, I was like, oh, all those dudes are drinking and getting fucked up. And I'm going to go put on muscle right now. I'm going to have a protein shake, So I said that to him, and I was like, if you work your hardest and don't get what you want, it just means you got to work more. And some people get free talent and they don't pay for it. And you just have to maybe pay a little more.
Yep.
I'd love to hear what you think about that.
That is 100% true. The sentence that you just said about wrestling, like I was the worst and D1. Why is that always the story? Why does every elite athlete, the people who end up at the very top, why are they always rejected? Always. There's never anyone who is a prodigy that ends up being the best. It's always the grunt or the dude who can take a punch in the face is the one that goes all the way. Look, I hate it. I hate that that's the story. It makes for a good story because it's inspiring, right? But I hate watching my kids go through that. I hate it so much. I want it to be easy for them. I do. I secretly want it to be easy for them. And I know that's just not the way. There's no way. There's only one way to the middle. You got to be a prodigy, and you get right to the middle.
Wow.
And that's it. And the guys the girls and the guys who are just unreasonable and just kind of crazy. Like, are you serious? Go home. No one wants you here.
Yeah.
Somehow, whatever they had to overcome made them resolute about going all the way.
Yeah.
There's some kind of resolve that happens when you get your ass kicked enough or you get rejected enough. You get so resolved. You're like, oh, if that's how it's going to be, I'm good with that. I'll just keep going. And they're not reasonable people.
No.
But no one's ever been inspired by a reasonable person. No one ever said this. Hey, I'm going to follow that guy. I'm going to follow that girl to the ends of earth because you know what? She's reasonable. No one ever said that.
She quits when she's done enough. Nobody. No. Right. It's so funny because I'm curious if you've seen this in your own life. I'm around a lot of high performing people. Yeah. But I've always tend to be the one that performs a little more. And there will be these moments where I'm grinding and they're like, Darius, you don't have to do that. I really question, like, have you challenged your ego as to why you're doing that? And this happened in a conversation yesterday in my forum. And I said, yeah, I did. And I said to myself, there's no way I'm quitting.
There's no way. Ego.
Yeah. Like Buddha's looking at me and being like, dude, you need to go get some therapy, man. And I'm like, I am getting therapy. And I don't know what it is. It's so deeply ingrained in me. Yeah. That the answer is I'm not going out without a fight. No matter what. Yeah. And so at the expense of a lot of pain, at the expense of a lot of struggle. But I do think what you said was really, really key. I think when you have that in you where you've gotten your ass kicked and you understand what that's like, and so when it comes the next time you're getting your ass kicked, you're oh, here I am again. Yeah. And you're like, oh, all right. I just know I got to go work really hard to get past it. I don't know how long, but I know that at some point it gets easy, Yeah. Like, is that how you kind of feel about stuff?
Completely. And you get accustomed to knowing that struggle it's a biological necessity. If you're in the business of getting better, if you're in the business of mastering a thing, then struggle is a biological thing that has to happen. It's a necessity. You can't get there without it. So you have to get punched in the face. So here's the difference. When you ever seen a boxer of anybody you ever admired who never really fought anybody, they're really good hitting the bag. They look good. They had good abs. They're good fighters, and they fight a bunch of bad fighters so that they look good, right? And they get like a 15-0 record. And finally, they're believing their own newspaper clippings, and they go, I actually am a good fighter. So you know what? I'm going to fight a good fighter, finally. I'm going to fight a champion. First thing that happens, first punch of the fight, bam, right in the nose.
Yeah.
And they don't fall down from it, but it hurts and it stings. And they go like this. Oh, shit. Oh, no, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
Somebody actually punched me back. And that's what happens to superstars. Every sport, every occupation, someday, at some point, you're going to get punched in the face, whether that's by the critics when you're doing your ballet dancing, or whether that's by a defensive lineman. If you're a superstar quarterback, you are going to get hit square in the nose. And then let's see who you are now.
Yeah.
Because superstars have never had that happen. That's why they're superstars. The greatest players, they've had that happen and they got back up. And they said, wow, that hurt. But if that's the worst that can happen, I'm up for that. I can do this. Give it to me again. Let's go. And they re-engage. Well, same for yours and my kids. Those are the ones. And these kids, you know, they're getting bailed out so quickly nowadays by parents that there'll be no competition for our kids if you can just teach them to re-engage after getting just body slammed, getting their butt kicked, however that looks, to get back up and re-engage. It's over for everybody else. There's no one doing that anymore.
No, they're thin in the herd, man. Like so I, you know, like when we probably the same thing. My kids are a little bit younger. I have an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I watch these parents make excuses for their kids on everything and how they didn't get this, and it's like, and they're flying over and protecting them. And my wife has a tendency to want to do it, and I'm like, I grab her. I'm like, get out of there. I'm like, let them fail. And she thinks I'm being a hard ass. I'm like, no. And like, they have to learn how to do it by themselves. Quit helping. And she now knows. I mean, you know, she's my wife's a Latina mama, so she wants to take care of her boys. But she got 2 boys. But I'll tell you, like, when I see that, I go, oh, these parents don't get it. And what I said to my kids, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I go, boys, I don't care if you win, like 0. There's no like I want you to win because I hope you earn something that you worked hard for, but I actually don't care if you win. I only care about one thing. I care that you worked your ass off as hard as you possibly could to try to create the result you want. You did every single thing possible. And if it doesn't go your way, I hope you learn something from it. What do you think about that?
That 100%. That's the only lesson to be learned these days. I think that's the only real reason for youth sports is, like, I remember my son, I think one of his first little basketball teams, you know, I think they were 10 or 9 or 11, right in there, you know, and they're playing this one team. They keep having to play them, and they just get their ass kicked by this team. This team is loaded with tall, you know, prodigies, and you can tell they're well coached and they're put together. And our little ragtag group, boy, we're scrapping. We lose to them by 40 the first time we play them. Then, or middle of the season, we got to play them again. We lose by 20. Still getting our ass kicked. Next game, we lose by 15. And then next time, we're just getting our ass kicked again. But every time out, every time we play them, we close down the point differential just a little bit. And so me and the other coach were like, well, you guys, these guys are starting to recognize us. We only lost by 12, right? They're starting to think we can challenge them, right? And then all of a sudden, this one game we play out of our minds after getting our ass kicked by this team like 8 times. And somehow we pull it off. We hit a last-second shot. We win it. Our kids are so proud of all of those losses that they faced with this team to finally overcome themselves. Well, guess what happened? We're jumping around like this. We're all crying and laughing and picking each other up. the superstar prodigy team, all statuesque and tall with their parents all behind each kid and their coach. Well, their two best players, biggest, best, I think they had mustaches. They come walking over to our side of the court. And I thought they were coming to congratulate us, like, wow,
Sure.
you guys have really improved. Do you know what they wanted?
What?
They wanted to be a part of our team now. They wanted to leave their team and come to our team because their team lost to our team. So all they cared about was making their son's life easier.
No.
So that they could win, which is what you led off this conversation by going, I don't care if you win. That's all they cared about, was they were on the best team. They were the best players on the best team. So as soon as these little ragtag group of kids pushed back with their little bloody noses and finally eked out a win, they wanted to be on this team.
Yeah.
And I said, you see that? Those kids will never play at a high level, ever. Because the first thing they've ever learned about basketball, about competition, is to join the winners instead of try to beat those people who just beat you.
Yeah.
Compete. And they'll do that for the rest of their life. So as soon as they have a bad day in their marriage, guess what they're going to do? Oh, let's leave this marriage. Let's go to one that's easier, right? As if that ever worked out,
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's their life. So I think you are definitely onto something. And I always tell my kids, especially when they lose, especially when they're really upset and they feel like they blew it, I said, you're so lucky that you got this opportunity today. Because on the darkest day of all of our lives, on those dark days where you blew it, you lost, you knew you could have come through and you didn't, those are the days we make these big decisions where you choose to quit or you choose to re-engage and get better. And those that choose to re-engage and get better, guess where they end up? They end up with gold medals around their neck. The other ones, I don't know where they ended up because no one knows.
Yeah.
Because they quit. So there's nothing really to follow there. There's nothing to be attracted to there because they quit on themselves instead of engaging. So I'm always telling my kids, if you cry after a game, I secretly grin. I secretly smile. I don't want to tell you, but I secretly smile and go, oh my gosh, this is the best news ever. And they used to say to me like this, Dad, I quit. You said we were out to be the best and she's better than me and he kicked my butt. And I just smile to myself and I go, oh, good. This is a great day because in about an hour, a decision's going to be made. It's going to be one of two. It's going to be, I'm out of here, or teach me how to be better.
Yeah.
Teach me how to defeat that person. Teach me how to re-engage. And once you have that kind of sensibility, there's nothing that can beat you. Nothing can stop you. And it doesn't matter the occupation. It doesn't matter how big the dream is. If you don't have any options, because you already had the option to quit. You had that. You didn't take it. You took to re-engage. Oh, as soon as you take that option, your life is resolute. It is over. All you got to do is just keep running the miles. It's it. As long as we know you're not quitting, I know where you're going to be tomorrow morning. It's pretty predictable. Your life ends up being very predictable, which is like my son's going through this. He went through this through his high school career kind of. He's always had this dream of being like an elite NFL quarterback. Well, his high school career, he got hurt this year. He was fourth team that year. He was fifth team this year. He was no good that year. All these things, weird things had happened. And everyone's going, well, I guess Axel's dream's just really never going to work out of being a great quarterback. And I secretly smile that's exactly what it looks like. It has to look like that. If it's easy for him in high school, if he threw a million touchdowns in high school, do you think he's going to be an elite NFL quarterback? No. No, he's going to wear his Letterman jacket at the age of 36, right? Right. And he's going to be talking about yesteryear when he threw a million touchdown passes, and his life's going to be over. He's going to be 400 pounds. But the one who took the punches in the noses and showed up to practice every day being fourth string, I didn't even know there was 4 quarterbacks. Fourth string, yep. I know that if they engage, I know that if he keeps going, that it's all done. His dream will come true.
Love it. Total Tom Brady. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, right?
Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. We can go right through them all.
Yeah.
Drew Brees. We go through them all. Yeah. They're all the same.
Yeah. Man, we ran out of time. I'm like, I don't know if you knew the conversation was going there. That was awesome. I forgot to tell you when we started the show, we do the greatness question. I want to do it just because we've been talking about it for the last 20 minutes, but I'm going to give you the greatness question. And then, but before we go to the greatness question, I mean, man, there's so much great stuff that people can work with you on. Anything you want to promote, any way people can connect with you to learn more, anything you want to promote as far as people working with you, just give us the rigmarole.
Yeah. I'd love to, work with your people. I love it. I mean, I do a 3-day event where we are belly to belly for 3 days. And we train people to, be the best in the world on stage and in front of camera presenting to people based on their personal story. So, if you guys are interested in that, then, you can go to boeason.com and find that out, all that stuff. But I will give you something real quick. If you'll text me, I'll send you. I would love everyone to have, Darius, a story guide, because a lot of people don't think they have stories. And I know my story saved me from going to, jail, like I talked about. Once I was able to tell my story and be in front of people, it set up my whole life. Like I don't have to wait for the phone to ring again, because it gives you ownership over your own life in your own career. So I'd love to give them a free story guide. So you guys, I'm going to give you the number, and you'll text the word guide, story guide, but guide, the word guide, to this number that I'm about to give you. And I'll automatically just shoot you something, and you start training and getting ready for your personal story. So we can start to unlock that thing, because they're powerful. Here's the number, you guys. 323-310-5504. 323-310-5504. Text guide to that number, and I will automatically send you a story guide so you guys get started right away.
Awesome. We'll make sure we put those in the show notes, so the boeason.com and the phone number with the word guide, so you guys can connect with Bo and learn more about some of the awesome stuff he's doing with folks, getting in front of a lot of our listeners. You guys are doing your keynotes, telling your stories. This is Bo's the guy to work with without question, and his team. So we'll make sure we get that in the show notes. And with that said, you ready for the greatness question?
I am.
All right, you're gonna crush this one. Your whole life is this question, by the way. So, what is the number one barrier? What is the number one barrier to creating greatness that you've overcome in your life, and how did you overcome it?
Repeat the question.
It's what is the number one barrier to? Sorry, I messed up. Hey Sid, edit this out.
Edit that out.
Yeah. All right. What is the number one barrier to creating greatness in your life, and how did you overcome it?
Wow, speaking of greatness, it's a great question. Elimination of people around you is the quickest way to overcome any barrier. So to be the best, you have to eliminate all else. If you want a gold medal, you have to eliminate silver and you have to eliminate bronze. It's not an option, right? We're not interested in it. Then you might win a silver, you might win a bronze, but that will remain at the bottom of your gym bag in the locker when you won it. To do that, you have to eliminate a lot of human beings from your life, a lot of distraction from your life. Naysayers, people want you to, just don't believe the things that you believe. Don't see the world like you see it. You get to the top by eliminating all else. If I could teach you one thing, that's how I'd answer that question. Don't think of a to-do list. Think of an elimination list. We got enough on our to-do list. We got plenty to do. You got to get shit out of your life. You got to eliminate stuff. And sometimes those are, people with a certain voice or a certain authority in your life. But if they stand in the way of your vision and your dream, then you've got to eliminate it. You've got to eliminate that. And that's how you get to the top, because you're lightest then. You can climb the quickest, because now you're not carrying a bunch of dead weight telling you no all the time, not believing in you all the time, having you have a dream that's not your dream. It's their dream. That I would start to eliminate out of my life day one.
Nice. Bo Eason, I love it, man. That was such a fun show. Thank you for coming on today. So much gratitude from here at the Greatness Machine.
Thanks, Darius. Appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, that's super fun. Guys, everyone needs to hear this. I'm so motivated by this podcast today, and you should be too. Until next time, everybody, peace out. Love you. You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on, so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers, and after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one.
She's my lover.